Right now, my family is not so happy that I'm running for U.S. Senate in Connecticut. But over time, I think Connecticut will start listening to people who care. If you don't know who I am, and I'm running for U.S. Senate, I started being an advocate back in 2000 when I became the first whistleblower on Bernie Madoff in the country. I went to the FBI. I've been there pretty much monthly for 20 years, giving them evidence of crimes of which they have never acted on. I also go to the state police in Connecticut. I have many recordings. Many. You should see this month's recording. I walk up to the fence and I say, "Why haven't you done anything about these murders? Mr. Flynn, what can we help you with?" I said, "I've been giving you evidence of murder for hire, repeated home invasion, all types of problems for 20 years with no response." Now, people say, "Oh, that's a bunch of crap." Well, guess what? James Comey ran the FBI in Connecticut. Yes, he did. And Blumenthal, my opponent, brought him down for the Hillary Clinton investigation. Now, nobody looked into Rostec. Why was that approved? Nobody looked into the Clinton Global Initiative Foundation $550 million payment. Why not? Because Hillary was Secretary of State. Okay? So when you look at what's happening in Connecticut, no one listens. No one listens. Well, I listen. You look, might be the only guy on Twitter that follows 3 times as many people as follow him. They don't follow. They don't think you can win. You can win. And I will. The more obstacles that you face, when you overcome them, you just get stronger. I have people supporting me I've never heard of. I can't go to Walmart without someone approaching me and saying, "I've seen you on Facebook, Twitter. I've seen you on everywhere." I go, "Yeah, that's because we have to be everywhere. We have to become the next best thing for Connecticut." Now, yesterday there was an event in Brantford, and a stellar individual announced he's going to run for Secretary of State. He sat there and introduced 10 other people running at the meeting. Not me. That's fine. Dominic Rapini is a class act. I don't want him to be dragged down by what I'm doing. Look at the GOP. We have a new chair. Will he come through? I'm not sure yet, okay? It's a wait and see. I just lost our district woman to, she took a job in Washington. She's moving. Excellent lady. However, I filed 13 ethics complaints 2 years ago with the city of Norwalk. I haven't heard a single thing. And some of them are substantial. I'm talking about detectives falsifying evidence to justify false arrest. It's a big deal. We've been down this road many times. There's evidence created. There's evidence being planted. We have a problem in Connecticut. It's prosecutorial misconduct. I blew the whistle on our chief state's attorney for taking a bribe. This is the 6th time I've sued him. So I am running for U.S. Senate. Yeah. Damn the torpedoes. It doesn't matter, because when people realize that we have 25 corrupt judges, and I name the names, and I show them the evidence, they will understand that no one is as qualified, perfectly suited to become our next U.S. Senator. Nobody but me. Why? I'll tell you. There's a court case from 2014 where I sued our ex-governor for racketeering, bribery, extortion, money laundering, check fraud, wire fraud, securities fraud. Why? Because of our congressmen. Think about our congressmen. DeLauro, Himes, Courtney, Larson, and Hayes. Those 5 congressmen co-sponsored H.R. 1. So they should be willing to defend their position. They are not. I challenge them all to a debate through debateattorney.com. Figure out what debateattorney.com is and figure out why it's going to help Connecticut, because it's important. So when you look at what's happening in the state, those 5 congressmen support ballot harvesting, same-day registration, no voter ID, 6-to-1 money matching. Hold on a second. Do they know what happened in Hamden, Connecticut? Of course they do. Do they know what happened in Bridgeport, Connecticut? Of course they do, because it's all listed on this website which I'm about to show you. This is it. Fight voter fraud. Linda is a powerhouse. People don't realize that Connecticut forced people in Arizona to do their audit. Why? Because people were saying, if you don't clean this voter problem, we're going to hold you financially responsible. Accountability. Now that has spread to other states. Look at the Mike Lindell video on Connecticut. Oh yes, he's saying that 750,000 Trump votes were removed for Trump, and 1 million votes were created for Biden. That's what Mike Lindell is saying about Connecticut. And you know what? That means they created more votes, 250,000, than actually exist. Look at Denise Merrill. She's resigning. She's leaving and not running again. Why? I sued her a year and a half ago through the Stamford Superior Court, and the case isn't processed yet. Did you know 13 people ran for president of the United States in Connecticut? Look at Fight Voter Fraud. I just bought a shirt today for $30. A long sleeve stellar shirt. I'll be wearing it in the future. But when you look at the facts in Connecticut, it's disturbing. So I will run for U.S. Senate, and I will take that seat. And I need your support. And I hope I get it. Either way, why would the Republicans not have a candidate other than me and not support me? Well, we'll see what happens, folks. I do want to reiterate that Dominic Rapini is a stellar candidate. Absolutely, he's associated with that website I just showed you, but if you look what's happening in the country, it's demoralizing. Look at the videos that are coming across the screen. Look at this video today. They're passing babies in Afghanistan through the crowd to get them on the transport planes. 1-year-olds, infants. This entire crowd is ushering babies, passing them over their heads to get them on the next transport. They want them out of the country to save those kids. You gotta wonder, folks, why our state, Jim Himes, my congressman, assessed the Afghanistan deal recently in July and went forward with no contingency plans for removing the people. I saw the bill he spoke about on the floor, okay? They keep passing laws they can't enforce. What good is that? They don't enforce federal law in Connecticut. No, they don't. I just went to the FBI, as I reiterated, and saying, how come you don't follow federal law? You're the FBI. I went through that entire East Haven sting operation with the FBI, fighting their informants after being set up by them, and it's disturbing. So when I say I'm running for U.S. Senate, It's because I'm fully aware of the judicial misconduct, prosecutorial misconduct, legislative misconduct. You can't have the General Assembly silenced. Those are the elected officials per district that want to get that are protecting their constituents against Lamont's executive orders. Hello, look at the Tweed Airport deal. Goldman Sachs owns the land. Jim Himes worked for Goldman Sachs. David Lehman worked for Goldman Sachs. He's the CMO trader that Himes did not prosecute in the 2008-2009 financial crisis. Look at the money from Purdue Pharma that the Democrats took, $112 million, to allow 220 deaths per day from opioids. Look at Dominion. Look at the purchase of Dominion by UBS across the street from Jim Himes. Look at all these deals. Look at H.R. 1. How can they support voter fraud? How can they support same-day registration, knowing that 200 and change dead people voted in the 2020 election in Connecticut? How do they know? How can they move forward and say, we're going to pass H.R. 1, when in fact they haven't even cleaned up the voter rolls in Bridgeport, which are 40% fraudulent? Hi, those people moved away or died, still on the rolls and still voting. Look at the Hamden problem with the prison. Hold on a second. Over 50 convicts voted, and those were harvested ballots. Look at Denise Merrill. How many votes were falsified just in Norwalk? Quite a few, folks. How do we know? We know. Why didn't they process the lawsuit? Because the judges are protecting them. Look at Stephen Barrier, folks. We're accusing the state's attorney of paying a bribe on Labor Day 11 months ago to cover up taser information of a boy murdered and tortured. It's serious, okay? The kid was killed at 1:30 in the morning. The body cams are from 5:29 a.m. There's 6 cops in the original video from the doorbell ring. There's 21 cops in the body cam evidence that they showed to the news. So here we go. We have a problem in Connecticut with Hearst. Yes, I announced 2 years ago that I was running for U.S. Senate. Guess what happened? They've never printed my name. Now they just leaked a falsified response to a Sikh complaint with election enforcement in Connecticut, where a woman standing next to me in Norwalk was assaulted by Black Lives Matter at the polling station, Columbus Magnet School, in my town. And you know what? They covered it up. They have told 2 newspapers that they are not enforcing any action on the Black Lives Matter complaint that I filed. Now, they haven't even responded to me yet, okay? They've been calling the state police. And you know what? The state police is complicit in an assault on a blind woman on election day at a school that I am responsible for. So, if you're running for U.S. Senate and you witness an assault on a disabled person, gee, you would think if you filed it with Officer Williams in the Norwalk Police Department that he would follow up. You would think that the chief would follow it up, or the mayor. They all know about the assault. It's a problem, folks. They were intimidating voters that were Trump supporters. I had Trump signs. They forced me to take them down. What happened? I can spell it out, folks, but Connecticut has no Trump signs. And you have to wonder why 40% of the state voted for a guy that didn't have any signs. Where did the signs go? Where did the signs in Connecticut go? I will tell you. There is movement. There are people. Democrats just voted in Fazio in Stamford, Connecticut for the state Senate seat. That was this week. Okay? The Democrats supported the Republican. That's what's going to happen. They're going to vote the person, not the party. Voting the party is a crime when you have a person like DeLauro involved. I believe that Margaret Stryker beat DeLauro for that congressional seat. And look what DeLauro did after the fact. Horrendous. Okay? We are paying for all these people coming across an open border. It's got to be shut. We got to shut it. Now we have a refugee from Afghanistan problem. They're going to take as many as they can get by transport. And I'm not saying that we don't have an obligation to help people. But Jim Himes assessed the problem in Afghanistan with pulling out. And he gave them the green light. Jim Himes, so you know, had FBI oversight of James Comey, brought him down to Washington. Hey, they falsified. 50 FBI agents leaked to newspapers. They falsified the FISA warrant information. Yes, Blumenthal, my opponent in the U.S. Senate seat, rewrote the FISA rules in 2013 with 18 Democrats and no Republicans. Why? Because they want to keep control. They're willing to steal that control. We need to stop the steal. Oh, stop the steal. Yes. I have evidence that will completely knock them out. So if you follow me and share, and we get a fair court date, and we get a fair judge, which is nearly impossible, keep in mind this. I sued Malloy, our old governor, for money laundering. Okay? 7.5-day trial. Who heard the case? Provader. Provader worked for Malloy for 10 years, was counsel to the city of Stamford. When Malloy became governor, he made Provader a judge. Now guess what happened? Larrabee went to East Haven, where the FBI sting operation was, where I had my second office of my brokerage firm, where 1,239 cash stolen checks occurred from Bank America, who is Jim Himes' largest donor. Can you see how the payments to the bank affect the judge's position? Oh, it does, because Kelly Dry is Bank America's attorney. Kelly Dry has a partner named Judge Adams. Hold on. Judge Adams steered cases to himself. What happened with the Provader case is ugly. No subpoenas approved. He says he did approve subpoenas. However, they went to Larrabee, his friend for 10 years. Larrabee was chief of police in Stamford when Provader was chief counsel. Okay? When Malloy became governor, he made Provader a judge, and Larrabee got promoted to East Haven. What happened there is a crime. Larrabee refused Provader's subpoenas at a trial where 900 pages of evidence revealed criminal conspiracy by the mayor of Norwalk, Harry Rilling. Yes, Harry Rilling has emails back and forth to the Detective Bureau in Norwalk, my town, saying all these financial crimes will never be responded to. Why? Because of kickbacks. Why? Read the book Rogue Town. It explains it all, okay? A bestseller written about Stamford. What happened with the Stephen Barrier murder in Stamford? Well, the taser evidence is missing. Taser stands for Thomas A. Swift Electric Rifle. It's a firearm. When the evidence of the murder disappeared and Colangelo took a bribe, this was a problem for Stamford. Mayor Martin has to go. He has to go to jail, folks. Jail, not re-election. I saw his signs down in Stamford yesterday for his upcoming re-election. Oh no. We need to fully support Bobby Valentine, a class act, a neighbor of mine, an old neighbor of mine. Fantastic individual. What is going on in Connecticut is people are coming to their senses because people like John Flynn born and raised in Pound Ridge, New York, which is 9 miles away, moved to Connecticut back in, I guess, 1998, bought a brokerage firm called Greenwich Global LP, which was robbed by Bernie Madoff. And what happened? It's never been fixed. I'll tell you why. This explains the entire problem of Connecticut. Ready? I filed 350 lawsuits. I'm a pro se litigator. Okay, I'm a carpenter, painter, plumber, electrician. I'm all these things. Fine. I pay the bills. Okay, we pay the bills. However, 340 cases were dismissed, saying, oh, we need NASDAQ to hear that, or the SEC, or FINRA. 350 cases were stayed pending arbitration at NASDAQ, which was run by Bernie Madoff. NASDAQ's chairman was Bernie Madoff. So what happened? All these Connecticut judges, the NASDAQ stayed arbitration pending Connecticut lawsuits, and Connecticut stayed NASDAQ arbitrations. Here we go. The cases have never been heard. There is no due process in Connecticut. There is financial crimes out the wazoo. The problem is Detective Maloney of Norwalk falsified evidence in his file. Yes, he did. He shared it with the FBI. They shared it with the State Police of Connecticut. These people are colluding to violate the Constitution in the Constitution state. These people don't recognize federal law, don't process undocumented crimes against civilians and citizens of Connecticut. It's a problem, folks. And I have a competitor for my U.S. Senate seat. We don't need an immigration lawyer in the U.S. Senate, folks, from Connecticut. I'll tell you why. Because the immigration lawyers in Norwalk accept money from the undocumented and advise them not to go to court. Don't go to your court date. Pay me. Pay me $2,000 and don't go to your court date. Oh, the courts are bogged down. The case will never be heard and they'll never find you. Move. This is what the advice of our lawyers who are commissioners of our court are telling our residents. Pay me, I'll cover for you, and don't go to court. That's a problem in Connecticut. I can fix it. I'm the only one that knows how. I talked to Johanna Hayes about this. I talked to Attorney General Tong. Attorney General Tong doesn't care because his father skipped on his immigration and was pardoned by Republican Richard Nixon. So Tong has disdain for federal immigration law. Look at what he has been doing, which is not his job. Suing Trump over the border? Are you joking me? Look at the involvement of opioids. Tong wants Connecticut to manufacture OxyContin. He wants Connecticut and the board that he sets up to run the opioid business, just like Jim Himes wants the Afghanistan poppy seed industry to take over the country, create heroin, sell it in the United States with open borders as a globalist. And these things have to stop. So here's my 24-minute video. I don't want to go any further. I'll go all day. But keep in mind, there's a guy running for U.S. Senate in Connecticut who can fix Connecticut, who can fix voter fraud, who can fix all types of judicial misconduct because no one's holding them accountable. Look back at the election fraud problem of Arizona. Connecticut forced that hand. Are you aware of that? Connecticut forced that hand. Look at what's happening in Pennsylvania right now. Look at these counties that have huge discrepancies in the number of voters. More voters voted than are registered in certain counties. How do you explain that? It's easy to explain. There's a steal going on. And who's in charge? The 5 Connecticut congressmen who co-sponsored H.R. 1. We have to end that fraud. End it. I am told Jim Himes falsified his own delegates in his own election by the Democrats in Connecticut. In Connecticut, I am telling you, I am being told by the Democrats that Tong falsified, our Attorney General got elected by falsifying his own delegates in his own election. I mean, don't come to the Republicans and blame us. These are the Democrats telling the Democrats they committed fraud, and we can prove it. I'm being told by 2 candidates that ran against Jim Himes that one was falsely arrested due to an anonymous complaint, and his attorney is Dennis Bradley, who's a staffer for Jim Himes. Dennis Bradley is getting indicted for some serious crimes, okay? And he's Himes' attorney. He was on his payroll and a staffer, and Himes denied it. Well, you know, Jim Himes had a assistant that was stabbed 39 times, and he described it as a simple robbery. Nobody gets stabbed 39 times in a simple robbery, folks. Okay? We have problems in Connecticut. Comey is a big problem because the FBI is still working for the guy. I've been going there monthly, recording the entire thing. It's all on this. It's all on that computer. I can show you the videos. I've been going to the Bridgeport police for 20 years, and we have confidential informants with 77 arrests, putting hits on people covered by the Janet Reno guidelines for FBI confidential informants. We have a problem, folks. It's murder for hire supported by our own James Comey. It's repeated home invasion, securities fraud, wire fraud, check fraud, money laundering, supported by Wilton, New Canaan. All these towns are involved up to here. Stamford has a gigantic problem, folks. Detective DeSpagna falsified a gigantic money laundering problem, and Pinto covered it up. Moccosi covered it up. Colangelo covered it up. All these people are criminals. Our state's attorney needs to go to jail. I confronted him at the Easton meeting. I can show you the video. It's right here. I said, "Excuse me? Stephen Barrier Sr. says that you took $1.5 million on Labor Day to cover up the murder evidence of his son, who was tased to death. And Richard Colangelo is maintaining that no tasers were used. However, Chief Winneman viewed it. Chief Winneman retired immediately after getting the payment, I believe. So when you look at the facts about bribery to cover up murder, the Barrier murder is far worse than the George Floyd murder, folks. It doesn't even compare. If you want to discuss it, I will discuss it at length. But the fact remains. Lamont may have paid the bribe through executive order during the COVID crisis, and Tong is involved up to here. So, Tong knows all about it, Governor Lamont knows all about it, and you need to make sure you know about it. Connecticut is the head of the snake, and look at Senator Chris Murphy's behavior. Treason. Threaten the president of Ukraine on television. If you investigate Ukraine on behalf of Trump, if you investigate Biden on behalf of Trump, I will withdraw all support, Democratic support for Ukraine. That's exactly what happened in Afghanistan. Hello. Now we have a crisis of worse than Saigon. Okay? We spent $2.26 trillion in Afghanistan. 20,000 wounded. 2,500 dead soldiers. Families sacrificed. We are in for the fight of our lives. And no one in Connecticut is listening. Case in point, I listen. I'm listening. I filed the first whistleblower complaint against Bernie Madoff in Connecticut on September 30th, 2000. What happened? Stanford is still investigating. Norwalk is still investigating a 20-year complaint. There's problems in Connecticut. Do you know about the 35-year murder investigation of Gina Crisanti? Do you know about the current one coming out this weekend? 20-year murder investigation. This is a problem in Connecticut. Are you ready? Police will tell you nothing if there's an ongoing investigation. They don't lift a finger to investigate, and they obstruct justice by, for example, in the Crisanti case, there was a truck that was loaded with a dead body of a young girl 35 years ago. They never got the truck. They never checked out the vehicle used to transport the body. Let me explain what happened in this case so you completely understand. A woman was kidnapped in broad daylight. Multiple people witnessed it. They threw her in a van and drove away. They went after the guy for kidnapping. The woman was never found. The body was never found because they never looked. And guess what? There's lots of evidence. They didn't look for it. They waited 35 years. And now we have another victim of that crime. Okay? The sister, who's at her wit's end. I'm going to interview her on Sunday. If you listen, you need to know when Connecticut says they're investigating, I'm sorry, we can't give you any information, and the mayor of the town writes emails, which I have, saying, don't investigate that check fraud. Tell Mr. Flynn, moi, to stand in the long line of complainers about the financial crimes. Well, guess who bribed who? Guess who bribed who? It's no wonder. This criminal machine, look at the POCO deal in Norwalk. McClutchy paid 10 grand to Eloisa Melendez during the vote. She is the treasurer of the DSCC, collecting bribes like OxyContin. 112 million is a lot of money to pay for 220 deaths per day. That is unconscionable, okay? Unconscionable. Our Democratic Party representatives in my state are the worst human beings on the planet. Hold on a second. It's bad enough they support Planned Parenthood, okay? It's bad enough they are willing to take the life of an innocent child. But look at even Afghanistan handing the kids over the fence so they can be free. We're going to have to pay a price here in Connecticut, and the price is enormous. If you look at what's going on in the federal government, we have a problem. Lamont right now is figuring out how to spend the money that he's getting. And I will tell you one thing. Quantitative easing is mathematically impossible to work. That's how Venezuela crashed. That caused Zimbabwe's crash. That is causing our crash. If you notice, quantitative easing leads to immediate commodity price increases. Wheat, corn, sugar. Doing an infrastructure deal, borrowing the money, negotiating with banks that they'll buy treasury bonds, and then supporting the market with your own bond indebtedness is exactly what's going to cause the United States to default. And if you can't follow me, fine. I don't need you to follow me, okay? I'm following you. Yes, have a great day. Pleasure to meet you. I'm doing it for America. I need your support. Thank you very much.